Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sam Roberts Wrestling Podcast. Introducing your host from New York, here is Sam Roberts.
Welcome to Sam Roberts Show here with Katie Linendoll. AJ Styles, the phenomenal one. What's going on? It's been a long time coming since we got to talk to you.
No kidding, man. I literally took the longest route to get to the WWE, so but that's okay. The timing was right.
Yeah, have you ever, I mean, this is your first, you've done a lot in the wrestling world. Before you got to WWE, when you're finished in TNA, when you're in Japan, when you feel like you've done it all, do you look at WWE as something you've never done, or do you feel like, it's probably not that different before you get here?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, but you know, I have the network, you know, and so I watch a lot of the programming on there. Even when I was in Japan, I watched a lot of it, and you just never think that you get that WrestleMania moment, and to watch the programming going, well, it is what it is, you know. You just learn to live with it, you know, and to be here now is just like unbelievable. Did
you comprehend the scale though before you got here of how different it would be?
I had no idea. I had nothing, no measuring stick to measure, the WWE to. But now, if anybody complains, I'm just like, brother, if you had been where I've been, you would know how great it is here, you know.
Right.
And so I really appreciate everything that's happened here, everything that's going on, because it's amazing and it's so well done. I mean, you have no idea. This is so professional. It just doesn't get better than this.
So when you're online and you see, a headline that you are having this milestone moment at MSG, it's legit.
Yeah, it's legit. I mean, sure enough, and everybody's calling, hey, what was it like in MSG? I mean, it was awesome, dude, because I first thought, well, MSG's too small for, WrestleMania, so it must be a smaller building. I was wrong. It's huge, because I'd never been in there before. A lot of things that people, when they thought, oh, this is your first time, well, yeah, you can't get into MSG unless you're part of the WWE. You cannot, perform in there unless you're part of the WWE.
It's like that last sort of bit of the territory system where it's like you've been wrestling down south for all this time and now you get to come up to New York and you're one of the only people that hasn't gotten to experience that but experienced pretty much everything else on a big level.
Yeah,
you do the Tokyo Dome, but never
huge.
Madison Square Garden.
Right, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and the crazy thing is, the Tokyo Dome, I think we did, play 40 or 50,000 and at the beginning of the year. We're going to double that in a couple days. It's just mind-blowing. It's just amazing.
Do you ever get nervous still?
Not as much as I'd like to, because I do love the butterflies. I love it, but I'm going to move a little bit faster, react a little bit quicker, jump a little bit higher when I get these butterflies, and the fact that I don't get them anymore, at least as much as I'd like to, bothers me.
Yeah.
I really want to be excited about some stuff. I'm like, you can't help it. But I'm pretty sure WrestleMania, I'll be, sick with them.
Yeah, well, that's probably the best thing about being here is finally it's something in wrestling that you haven't seen and done 100 times before. So how long, for those that don't know, was your career before you got here? How long have you been wrestling up to this point?
17 years I've been wrestling, and I'm finally making my WrestleMania debut.
What did you think after 17 years of wrestling? You've made a reputation for yourself. Did you think that the WWE fans would take to you immediately? Because you show up at the Royal Rumble as a surprise. I mean, was that a butterfly moment, not knowing what the reaction would be?
I'm gonna tell you guys, I was frightened. I was scared, because what happens when I walk out there and I hear crickets? Because nobody has any idea who I am. I mean, I was oh God, please, Lord, I'm praying literally, Lord, please let somebody know who I am, and there was that delay of whose music is this?
Yeah,
and then, while you didn't see it on your television screen, there was I Am, and then when Phenomenal popped up, they went completely nuts.
Right.
And I was like, oh, God, thank you. And then I had to walk out after that,
Because this is a nickname you've established outside of the company. So as far as you know, the Phenomenal could come up, and all us WWE fans are sitting there like, I don't understand. I don't
exactly.
Hey,
listen, it was the perfect time, perfect place.
It's also
for
a moment
me.
to, justify that I've done something right on the outside and coming in.
Absolutely. Somebody must like what I'm doing.
Right.
Somebody must appreciate it. And it was a couple thousands of people that actually appreciate what I've done and wanted to see me in the WWE.
How did it happen? Like, how did it come about? Like, what was that phone call? Well, first, had you been approached by WWE in the past?
In the past, before I think it was about 2002, I believe, I was offered a developmental deal. So I would have had to move to Cincinnati. And
This is even before NXT. This
yes,
is when you're wrestling in a warehouse.
Yep. Yeah, I would have had to move to Cincinnati, but I had to take a second to think about it because my wife was in college, and that would mean her moving in with her mother and me moving to Cincinnati, and that's not how a family works.
Right.
So I turned it down, which was, was crazy hard. I mean, to think that you had the opportunity to wrestle in the WWE and the fact you can't do it,
Right.
But everything worked out the way that it should have.
That was 2002?
Yeah.
And you're right, it worked out the way it should have, because the 2002 AJ Styles doesn't come in like
It wasn't ready.
2016 AJ Styles.
Well, before that, I wrestled for WCW. WCW obviously got bought out by WWE, and they didn't pick up my contract. And it was a good thing, too, because I was not ready for that.
Well, you were new in WCW when it was shutting down.
Yeah.
You were that next generation that you were like, all right, I'm the next guy. And they're like, well, there's no company.
Yeah, guess what? We're going out of business. That's awesome. That's just my life. Yeah, that's exactly the way it went down. And a lot of people ask me, well, how was it back in those days? I'm like, I thought it was awesome. I'd never been there before.
Yeah.
So.
How do you doing what you do for 17 years? How have you not died?
Well,
It's pretty.
That's a great question.
It is phenomenal in itself.
I have gotten smarter with how I do crazy stuff. I mean, you got to pick your spots and know when to use them. A lot of people, well, he doesn't do the things he used to. I do. I just don't do them every match.
Right.
Because, and don't get me wrong, I understand why guys are, when they come up through the independents and whatnot, you got to do crazy stuff to get your name out there. Once you get it out there, you can dial it back a little bit so you don't get hurt, because we know that, out of sight, out of mind. If you're hurt and you can't perform, people, forget about you pretty quick.
Yeah.
So you got to pick your spots and make them count when you do something crazy.
I mean, you made a few decisions in your career, like the one you were just talking about in 2002. You left TNA when you were kind of the one marquee guy that company. You were the exception to the rule when they said TNA doesn't build stars, except for AJ. And when you left the company, it was like, whoa, like it was the first big sort of, I'm leaving. That had to not be easy either.
It certainly was hard. I mean, to not know what the next step was, know that I had to bet on myself is what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I would go to Ring of Honor and hopefully do better there, show these people that I still got it.
Right.
That I'm not watered down, that I can go out there and tear it down. And then to get the opportunity to go to New Japan certainly did help.
Well, what was that like when you get to New Japan? Because you get to New Japan and Devitt, now Finn Balor, has just left. And you're basically taking his spot as the leader of the coolest faction, their version of kind of a modern day NWO, Bullet Club. That is something that I would imagine is a huge risk. To be like, I'm going to be the new guy in this pre-established thing.
Well, when you're stuck in that bubble too, you're not aware of what's going on really outside of you. So
Right.
When I'd heard of the Bullet Club, I wasn't aware of how big it was. And literally, Finn's last match in New Japan was my debut when I attacked Okada. And then I think from then on, I mean, the group of guys that we had there within the BC, it was amazing. And so we worked really well together, hung out together, all that stuff. It was just an amazing experience, and it only got better, as we were there.
How does New Japan react to finding out that you, Nakamura, Luke Gallows, and Carl Anderson, four of the biggest stars in that Japanese company, are all leaving to come here?
So I hear Nakamura on Christmas Eve told New Japan, and that he was leaving, and I'm going,
Merry
oh
Christmas.
my God, oh God,
Gift that keeps on not giving.
not giving.
But I mean, that's got to be weird for you to hear that too.
Well,
On the regular now.
yeah, I mean, I was like, whoa, and then knowing that you're going to have to tell them in a couple weeks that, hey, guess what?
I am too.
And-
So it wasn't an organized effort. It was just like, oh, there's a really
Yeah,
bad coincidence
we're about
happening for you
to, just drop kick you right in the face with, the fact that we're all leaving. And so it was huge, and it was very hard. I mean, New Japan is a great place to work. I mean, they were stand-up guys, can't say enough good things about them. I'm going to tell you guys this. I wish I would have told them, the guys in New Japan, this. I didn't shed one tear when I left TNA. I was very emotional when I left New Japan.
Which is amazing, because TNA, you'd been there for years. In New Japan, it was kind of just like this How long were you in New Japan?
Almost 2 years.
2 years. But TNA, it was like a full-fledged
Yeah, it's
career.
crazy. I mean, I'm sure there was some, there was a chip on my shoulder, when I left, but New Japan I had nothing but respect for them, and the respect that they showed me was, I can't express how much that meant to me.
How did it go down that you, number one, because the process, in 2002, the process was, let's sign this kid, we'll put him in developmental, he'll work in a warehouse for a year, and then we'll see what happens.
Right.
I mean, in 2015, 2016, it's still, even big names are getting signed. They're not wrestling in a warehouse, but they're going to NXT, then they're getting their name changed, then they're getting everything. Like, how do you end up not getting your name changed, not getting your nickname changed, not getting your logo changed, and going straight to the main roster?
That is a good question. I was like, you know what, man, I'll do whatever you guys want to do.
Really?
I'm sure I'd like to keep my name, but who wouldn't? But if that's not going to stop me from going to the WWE, I want to do what's best for my family and my career.
Mm-hmm.
So if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. A lot of prayer went to this stuff, but everything worked out the way that it should, and they knew. I mean, it just goes to show how smart they are as well, because when the word phenomenal popped on that screen, it was like that was the right thing to do.
Yeah, because the last thing they need is to have you in NXT debut as Styles J,
which
everybody's chanting AJ Styles.
Yeah.
At you.
Oh, he's BJ Smiles. Oh, that's great. Like I'm a wrestler from Fire Pro Wrestling, or something like that.
Yeah. The old video game where they would just bootleg all the characters.
Talk about the style too. The music is sick.
Yeah, you know what? I just got with the guys and I just said, listen, I kind of want just a little bit of just a little bit of country, because I'm not that huge of a fan, but I also love hip hop. And they're okay, and that was it. And we tweaked it a little bit just for the entrance, and there you go.
Be really happy with that. I mean, that's like.
Yeah.
Well, when you first hear something, you're like, I don't know, I don't know. And then my wife, I let her. She goes, they're gonna call you a redneck? I'm like, babe, I mean, I kind of am,
Right.
I can't escape
you are in
it.
Connecticut, right? A redneck.
In Connecticut?
Meaning that people in Connecticut, anytime
they see me, they see the accent. Yeah. Most everybody from the north, he goes, oh,
right,
redneck.
Right.
He skins deers and blah 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 and smokes. I don't know.
Beef jerky,
he must
hot
make his own
sauce,
jerky.
ranch. I grew
Yeah.
up in the South.
Yeah, AJ knows how to fish. I really don't know how to fish. I
You know
know.
how to wrestle.
Yeah.
What hip hop artists do you like?
I don't know if you guys are in the Christian hip hop or even heard of Lecrae. Lecrae to me is probably one of the best rappers alive, and despite the fact that he's a believer like myself, this guy he's amazing. He's amazing. So I got a lot of that stuff, and I'm a big old school guy too. Like Run DMC would be is on my playlist. Guys like that. Anything that my brother listened to back when I was a teenager, because I looked up to him so much.
Yeah, he's the one that taught you what's cool.
Well, Belle Biv DeVoe, Keith Sweat, all that stuff is on there.
Did you grow up religious, or is that something you found later?
I went to church when I was younger, but it was never something that was just pushed down my throat or anything, which was a good thing. I had to find out for myself where I belonged, and I just found a guy at a church who just wanted to show me that I don't have to know you to love you, man. And it changed my life, and like I understood what it was like to be a man and a Christian man on top of that.
Is it difficult to maintain that in the wrestling world?
Not at all. I mean, this is the perfect place for me. Mm-hmm. It's like, little things like, it's very rare that I ever drop any cuss words or anything like that, and which is the perfect place for me because, at my house, if Dad says it, you can say it, kind of deal. So, a lot of my slang words have come off very childish at this point in my career.
I like, though, how you do pepper it in. I appreciate that as a fellow Christian and wrestling fan, how Easter is an example. You just kind of punchline, he is risen, and after 3,000 retweets, it's just cool. You stand for what you believe.
Yeah, I mean, and people respect that, and if they don't, that's okay. If they try to get a rise out of me, I just like, look, hey, man, I'm not going to push this on you. It's cool if you don't believe. It is what it is. I'm just telling you what makes me me.
Are you the only guy on the roster that's not like doing everything possible they can to try to get a match with Nakamura, since you've already, you know what I mean?
Well, I've already wrestled him. It's not a big deal. Hey, listen, he is one of the best, man. I love being in the ring with him. The fact that we've only touched one time really on a one-on-one match and had an amazing match at the same time. I'm excited for Sami Zayn because I know they're going to tear it up.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Has anybody ever come to you and said, look, we love the flying forearm off the top rope, but it kind of makes the Superman punch look weaker because you're much higher. You jump so high.
Well, I was actually worried about that. Was something like they're not gonna let you do this. Yeah. Probably. Well, you know, they weren't gonna let me keep my name either. So, right. You know, I think that you know, I got to do what. I'm not the big guy. I'm not the smallest guy. I'm definitely not the biggest guy. So I got to do, you know, moves that I can take anybody out with, which is, you know, a lot of people want to see the Styles Clash, and you may still see the Styles Clash, but I can hit the calf crusher on anybody, and I can also hit the flying forearm, or the phenomenal forearm, if you will, on everybody. So it's important.
And is that something you want to do? Like, do you like the idea of showing up here and having some new stuff to your repertoire, so it's not just giving people like, oh, we get to see it in a WWE ring now. It's like, no, there's also some new stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you got to change it up and show them a little something that, you know, maybe they've forgotten about some moves. You know, that's always a good thing too, is just bring some stuff back. But not every move can you do on every, you know, so you have to pick and choose in which, and that's okay. That's a good thing. But definitely, I think being innovative is very important.
Are there guys that you look at on the WWE roster that you haven't gotten a chance to be in a ring yet that you do get that excited feeling about that's rare for you?
You know, I haven't even met John Cena or Randy Orton yet, you know, because they've been injured.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be a cool moment when I finally get to get in the ring with one of those guys. Or even some of the guys that Cesaro was, you know, he's been injured, but I saw him the other day. Man, hopefully he's coming back soon. The opportunity to get in the ring with him, knowing that we're going to tear it up, you know, that's exciting to me, you know. Different matchups are always good, and that's what is exciting about being here, as I haven't wrestled hardly anybody here.
Right.
You know, so the matchups are fun to me.
Which is kind of the benefit, I think, of you and Jericho building this story as long as you've built it, because now it's like, it's not like they've rushed every single story you've ever wanted to see in 3 months. It's like, no, we're building this nice and slow, and then I would imagine after WrestleMania, it's like, boom.
All right, here's the next guy. You know, everybody I know a lot of people wanted Kevin Owens, and we kind of give them a little bit of that.
Right.
And we can always go back to it, but I don't know if that's the next step. You know, who knows what the next step is? But I believe that, you know, no matter who I'm in there with, it's going to be fun.
Is there another situation where you see yourself, and how do you like being in the tag world?
Shoot, tag world means I take half the bumps, so I'm excited about that. I'm not sure who that would be right now, but hopefully I got some friends coming over pretty soon, and you never know what might happen.
I have a buddy who's an indie wrestler. And he was like, I wanted to make more of a living doing this full time, so I opened a school. He's like, it's the worst decision I've ever made. I have to take bumps every single day now. Yeah. Because I'm showing him how to do it in the school.
That's it. I mean, that really is it. But you know, I've also thought about the same thing. Is one day hopefully helping guys and helping girls, you know, train. I really enjoy that, man. Yeah. I really enjoy sharing what I've learned over the past couple of years, and maybe that can help them and cut some time off their learning curve, so they can get in there and make a living at doing this.
Well, what's the relationship like with you and some of the younger guys on the roster? Because there are guys that have maybe been in WWE for 4 or 5 years, but they've literally been wrestling for 4 or 5 years. They would still have a lot to learn from somebody like you. Do you go in and kind of immediately take on a mentor role, or are you just kind of sitting back and figuring out the system that you're in now?
Well, you know, I make sure I try not to step on any toes, because I know that they're learning from other people.
Right.
And I don't want to step on anybody's toe, because they have the way of doing things. But in some instances, you know, I'll be like, and I'll watch it. I can't help myself. I'm like, hey, you know, it'd be good, you know, right here, and or you know, just stuff like adding stuff to what they've already done. And some of my favorite people to work with are like Charlotte and Sasha and Becky. Like those girls are awesome. Yeah. You know, and they're all about, you know, taking it to the next level, and just going there and just talking to them, hearing them get excited about the match and how awesome it's going to be. Yeah. It gets me excited. You know, I want to help with that.
Did you have you've been in a locker room with The Undertaker. Did you have an experience of sharing a locker room with The Undertaker?
Well, I don't know that I've actually been in that locker room with him, but I did stand in the gorilla and go, oh, shoot. That's The Undertaker standing right there in front of me. I think I said it to maybe, you know, like to Owens, or like, hey, you know what? Undertaker's right there, and we're standing with him. And we, maybe like 2 years ago or 1 year ago, wrestled each other on an indie show, right. And here we are in Gorilla with the Undertaker.
Isn't that great that he's the one guy left that's like, that's the guy that reminds us where we are.
Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, he's such an icon, man. It's unbelievable. Speaking of icons, I got to see Sting the other day, which was awesome.
Yeah, when you see Sting, do you and Sting go like, how much better is this?
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh God, absolutely, 100%. I mean, we're both thinking the same thing when we look at each other. We're like, why didn't we do this sooner? You know.
There's got to be something to building that character though, and having gone through all those experiences and finally being here.
It is. I mean, I've realized that AJ Styles isn't too far from Alan Jones. So, you know, I pretty much turned into they're just the same guy. I mean, it is what, you know, unless, of course, I turn into a bad guy, then you're going to see a totally different guy. But the guy that is sitting in the middle of you guys is pretty much the same guy. If you went to my house, I'm like, all right, here, nothing's changed. Still same old Styles here.
Here we are. AJ, thank you for joining us.
Can we say one thing really quick?
Yes, go ahead, Katie.
Can you zoom in on Sam, Pete, kindly? So,
I don't know.
I thought Sam had the best hair. This is like Pantene commercial worthy. Sorry, Sam.
I like it.
No, yours.
Thank you.
I like
You're
yours.
of excellent. You're like a hair commercial.
I hate my
It's
hair.
really
You do
quite
hate your
lovely.
hair?
Literally, I was in the shower
It's all like
last night, and I went,
there's like a Moroccan oil
oh my
sponsorship
God, this
here.
is way too long, way
No,
too
dude.
long. So I'm just trying to,
know.
and they're like, oh, he's an emo. I'm like, I'm not an emo. I don't know. Jeez, I'm just trying to do something different, all right?
Kevin Owens nails you with the Renee Young haircut line. You're like, that's what I'm sensitive about.
I'm like, and yeah.
Well, I'm glad we finally got the chance to talk to you in a WWE environment. It's very cool to see, and it's going to be a great weekend for you, I think.
It's going to be a phenomenal
Oh.
weekend.
There it is.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Well
AJ.
done.
Thanks.
Hey, it's Sam Roberts. I hope you enjoyed that wrestling interview from Sam Roberts Wrestling Podcast. You can go to notsam.com to subscribe to that podcast. But I upload videos like that on this YouTube channel all the time. So if you don't already subscribe, subscribe now. It's on the side of the page. I made it real easy. Click the button. Subscribe to the page. Subscribe to the page.